Chris Wallace here, advising the man, with another episode of the ATM News. This week, a delicate subject, lust. We'll do it in two parts, this week and next. So after today, you'll understand why this is so important to relationship. Let's go with long-term lust, part one. Do you miss the fiery passion found in the early days of your relationship? Hopefully, you know what I mean. In the beginning, for most of us in an LTR, it's a period where she is top of mind priority. Seemingly, it evolves into where you do almost anything for each other. We put that time under the general heading called falling in love. It's a little mysterious, but falling in love by itself does little to keep the love alive over a longer time frame. In short order, the necessities of dealing with life's demands undermine the incredible attraction first found. I'll give you perspectives here I think you need to know. Let's first try to understand all of this by asking, why is it that we seem to assimilate so quickly with someone who heretofore was a stranger? I say it's because each is glad to have found a kindred soul with whom to share respective shadows. In fact, I say the shadow is the key to a successful pair bond and to lust. Let me explain what I mean by the shadow. I'll give you like a Cole's Notes version of psychological development while we're at it. We arrive in this world with an inborn temperament and the 3 Ps: possibilities, potentials, and promises. These are expressed by a curious, exploratory, intuitive, and imaginative being with an innate capacity for basic empathy, as well as a rudimentary sense of justice. We'll call this original operating system the master self. Caregivers around us then use language and threaten reward while leveraging abandonment fear to install a secondary consciousness in the child focused on survival and sociability. It's largely unavoidable. We'll call this part of the brain's operating system the servant self. To manage transitions between the two selves, the integrated nervous system is set up to deny, distort, and repress inner and/or outer reality to lessen anxiety and depression. This is also known as the ego, and it's not your enemy. It's actually very wise. It's just a little misunderstood. The struggle between the master and servant selves means that in order to please benefactors and ensure critical succurrence, a child's ego learns to hide what is perceived as unacceptable. With little to no personal power, his innate sense of justice is varyingly stifled in the process. Conflicts around conscience, should, would, could, what if only, but. Changes in local reality, this is too much too soon. Clashes of emotion, I want what I want when I want it. And especially the push and pull of relationships. I love you, and I also hate you. Trigger the ego into doing its thing. The process leaves each of us with hidden parts of our nature, which often seem to wander the darkened corridors of the psyche, its energies like a lost child searching for acceptance. To simplify, the shadow becomes what we hide from others, knowingly or unknowingly. Much of it is unconscious and negative, but it also contains aspects of the self that are positive. To hide the bad, you hide some of the good. As an adult, these two operating systems are constantly at play. On the one hand, you have the master self 3 Ps, right hemisphere in 95% of us, which has learned to understand language but communicates in feelings and flashes of insight. On the other, your servant self is the brutal judgments of the inner critic, berating you with doubt and ruminations at the most inconvenient times, which may even keep you up at night. A new partner is a chance at acceptance over judgment. Given this, is it any wonder we fall so hard for each other? Beyond the scrutiny of secondary consciousness and the ever-present oversight of caregivers, while falling in love, we are free to be ourselves in varying degrees and be seen and accepted by another. because that's what happens at some level, isn't it? That initial bonding happens because the other person sees what's beneath the surface of your being as you see them, and a mutual acceptance evolves. On this basis, a deep trust between the two of you forms. You get the real me, and I get the real you. Think of what happens when you get naked with someone. There's nowhere to hide. Fully exposed, you find a way to make it work. As she sees your physique, your genitals, smells you and tastes you, and you do the same with her, barriers between the two of you fall away. Politely, we call this compatibility. At its heart is human lust. It is my contention that nurturing lust and maintaining a sense of excitement is not only possible, but essential for healthy and fulfilling partnerships. Let's talk a little bit about keeping the spark alive. Even after many years, consider the honeymoon phase. Is it a myth or is it reality? By now, you understand the honeymoon phase, the initial period of a relationship filled with intense passion and infatuation. We are taught that this phase naturally fades away over time, leading to a more stable but less passionate connection. It's as if the move from attraction to attachment is inevitable. Well, I agree, some aspects of the honeymoon phase must evolve. Doesn't mean the end of lust and excitement, not by far. I've come to realize that it's all in my head. Given men lead, women command, the onus for keeping that spark alive between me and my partner is mostly mine. That's one of the main functions of a man in a relationship. He is the keeper of the flame, you could say. With that attitude, you can bust out lust from its servant self cage. Let's talk a little bit about the importance of lust. Lust is considered a key feature of the initial stage of attraction, but it's not limited to the beginning of a relationship. I aim to convince you that it is an essential component of a healthy and satisfying long-term partnership. Lust is the raw, magnetic attraction that fuels desire and intimacy between partners. It's what keeps the physical aspect of your relationship exciting. Pretty important. Then realize that holding her heart is also equal to defending her shadow. And that's going to take a very special kind of man. It's not just that you defend her as your partner, you also defend her body and soul. It means you defend her darkness as well as her light. What? You thought it was going to be all rainbows and sunshine? That's not how it works. We exist in groups, and belonging is our number one need. It is you who stands on guard for the parts of her she cannot share with others. Her smaller stature, menstruation, pregnancy, caregiving, and higher negative emotion means she finds safety in numbers. The pressure on her to conform with the sisterhood and society for protection greatly amplifies a secondary consciousness installed in her in childhood. Mrs. once gave me the best advice I have ever received from a woman when she said she wanted others to see the two of us and wish they were her, not see the two of us and feel sorry for her that she's with me. She's an old soul, that Mrs. of mine. Not only will knowing this make you a better partner more broadly, it will help you better understand women in general. As she appears to others, she falls into line as the goodly wife, or the mother, or the worker. You are the only safe release she has from this tyranny of the soul. With you, she can be a little bad and still be loved. I invite you to think of that when she's unreasonable. Don't allow yourself to be disrespected, but do understand that those seemingly broken parts of hers are likely the very reason you have a relationship. The shadow contains the very building blocks of lust. Don't enable her dysfunction to the point of harm to herself or to you or to your children. But realize these shadow aspects are inevitable in all of us and can take decades to resolve. In the meantime, She's under your protection. If you have questions or comments, holler at me by responding here. Next week, we'll cover my tried and true methods for keeping lust alive. That'll give me a week to reconsider what I've written already. Don't forget to subscribe. Until then, stay powerful, true, and free. Thanks for listening.